Father, tonight we ask everything in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Army veteran Larry Rush to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage teacher and choir director Natalie Sweet to sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
God bless America and Trump and Donald Trump. Trump, 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 Trump.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Virginia U.S. Senate nominee Hung Cao.
Hello, Radford. How are we doing tonight? So for 22 and a half years, Roanoke was our second home. Every time the military sent us everywhere, we always came back here because my in-laws lived here. My wife and I were married 25 years ago, by a pastor right here in Bonsack. So it's good to be back home. So our country's taken a big turn, and it all starts with something. That scary sound, a knock at the door. That was the scariest sound when you grew up in a communist country. That knock at the door was the last sound my parents heard before their fathers were taken away in the middle of the night and never saw them again. That's my family's real life story. We escaped from Vietnam just days before Saigon fell to the communists. But we were given a new life in the most generous country on earth. My name's Hung Cao, and America saved my life. I grabbed onto the American dream. I went to the top schools in the country, including the United States Naval Academy. But you know what? I paid back every single dime of that American dream with 5 years of service in the United States Navy. I fought in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Somalia. I retired as a captain of the United States Navy, and I stand before you now as a Republican nominee for the United States Senate in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This can only happen in America, but we're losing our country. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, millions of illegal aliens flood our borders. Students fly Hamas flags on campuses and shout death to America. For the families of Laken Riley, Rachel Marin, Jocelyn Nungari, and too many others, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's open border is a matter of life and death. As an immigrant to this country, let me be very clear to anybody who comes here. Don't ask for the American dream if you're not willing to obey the American laws and embrace the American culture. Because I did. I love this country so much, I wrote a blank check up to and including my life to defend this republic. There's another patriot here today who wrote the same check. He's our next Vice President of the United States, Senator DD Vance. He's a hillbilly, and I'm a refugee. That's a match made in heaven. But we both lived the American dream. JD is a United States Marine who served honorably in Iraq. JD and I know, and what all of us who serve in combat know, we will never send our sons and daughters to war for another endless war. We will not pay Ukraine's pensions while our Social Security is at risk. We will not send our tax dollars all over the world while factories are shuttered here at home. And we will not buy oil from countries that hate us while banning clean American coal. JD is the leader we need in Washington. Unfortunately, we can't say the same about our senator here in Virginia. I'm running against Hillary Clinton's running mate, Senator Tim Kaine. Kaine is a weak man in dangerous times. He and I have only one thing in common. The American taxpayers paid our paychecks for 30 years. Except Tim Kaine is a career politician with millions of dollars to show for it. And I'm a warrior with the scars to prove it. And I'm damn proud of it. Because I know what it's like to wake up one day without a flag to stand under or a country to call my own. And I'll be damned if that ever happens to my family, your family, or our grandchildren. This November, the left will come out for the hatred of one man. We will come out for love. Love of God, love of family, and love for the greatest nation on earth. With the help of President Trump, JD Vance and I will usher a new generation of leadership, one forged in the fire of service and combat to save this nation. We will put America first. I'm Hung Kao, and I'm not your next senator in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I'm not done fighting for us. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. May God bless the Commonwealth of Virginia, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Sheriff of Bedford County, Mike Miller.
Good evening, fellow Virginians. Before I start my speech real quick, I would like to thank every veteran that is in this audience today. Because of the men and women that serve and serve today makes this available for us. No other country, guys, can we vote like this. The other thing I want to tell you is there's four of us. There's four things that I know we come together with. The first is God. The second is our country. The third is our family. The fourth, President Trump is going back. My name is Sheriff Mike Miller of Bedford County, and I'm humbled and blessed to serve in this capacity. I'm also honored to join Senator Vance and the leaders from across Virginia. I want to thank Senator Vance for coming to Virginia, and I'm grateful for his service in the United States Marine Corps and his public service today. I know JD shares the sentiments of our Governor, Glenn Youngkin. Every state in this union is now a border state. In my career of 39 years, I never dreamed that we would have to be at this point with illegal immigration. We would have a direct effect on law enforcement in Bedford County, and it's all due to the failure of President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. We are here, guys. In the last 2 years in Bedford County, we have dealt with 66 overdoses and 23 deaths alone. 89 families have been affected because of open borders. One ongoing active investigation right now in the sheriff's office, we yielded over 6,000 fentanyl pills of a street value of over $120,000. Thank you, brother. Some of these criminals are even making their pills look like Tylenol and other household medicines. This is all due to the link of major hub states and cities where the drug cartels are known to be there today. Cartels bring only two things. They introduce harder and stronger drugs into our community, ruining our communities, and they introduce our children to gang life, and they take their innocence. So I ask you, is Vice President Kamala Harris and the Democrat open border policy a good thing for this country or your community? Drugs are pouring across these borders and also doing nothing. They are doing nothing about it. Also, thanks to the Democrats, the Bedford County Sheriff's Office deputies are dealing with criminal illegal immigrants. February the 28th of 2024, the Bedford Sheriff's Office was contacted by Butler County Sheriff's Office from Butler County, Ohio, regarding a missing illegal immigrant of 15 years old. This juvenile was abducted by an illegal 44-year-old man, a 44-year-old male immigrant by the last name of Cruz. This 15-year-old child was reported missing in May of 2023. We found her and was able to get her back. The immigrants that was in that house one 15-year-old female, 5 adult males. Identifying these individuals accurately throughout this case was challenging. They had no ID. They had no immediate family, and they didn't even belong here. As we contacted ICE, the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, the investigator had him on the phone. He shook his head and said, "Sheriff, you need to talk." I picked the phone up and I said, "Hello, this is from Immigrations." I said, "Guys, we need you here." Their answer was, "Sorry, Sheriff, our policies won't let us come." Policies make a difference, guys. But in closing, let me tell you this. Let me tell you the difference of two true leaders. I've told you about one. 2017, we had a murder in our county, and it was the first time we had been introduced to the MS-13 gang. The difference in this case, President Trump's ICE, illegal immigration enforcement, they said, "How many of you do we need?" They sent 4 to us within a matter of hours. In a matter of hours, we were able to identify every gang member that was responsible for that death. One of those gang members was also wanted out of Maryland for murder. That's what happens when they let law enforcement come together. It makes your streets, our counties, and our countries safe again. We need a president in that White House that just doesn't talk about Back in the Blue, just doesn't put it in a press release about Back in the Blue, but actually works to deter violent crime and work hand in hand with the local, state, and federal enforcement. We need a president who works with law enforcement, not against us. With your help, that's right. We need a president who will actually stop immigration and not encourage it. We need a president who works with law enforcement and not against it. Look, with your help, and with millions of more voters. We can change the course of this country, and we can bring it back to where it was. We can make our streets safer. A vote for President Trump and Senator J.D. Vance is a vote to help law enforcement. Guys, God bless this Commonwealth. God bless America. God bless President Trump and soon-to-be Vice President Vance. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares.
Virginians, are you ready to win again? Are you ready to make Virginia red again? No, I don't know. I've been traveling a couple days. Has anything been kind of broken in the news recently that I don't know about? I mean, I'm convinced that the best part of Joe Biden's day is every day he gets to discover that he is the President of the United States. You know, it's said that Ronald Reagan can never tell a lie, and Bill Clinton can never tell the truth, and Joe Biden can't tell the difference. But in all seriousness, I was in Milwaukee, and there was a lot of amazing moments when I was there, but one of the most riveting moments, other than if you're expecting me to pull the Hulk Hogan and rip my shirt off, it's not happening. You could thank me later. But it was when the parents of an American hostage, Omer Notra, showed up to address us in the hall and point out that this administration has forgotten 5 Americans right now, at this moment, as we sit in this amazing hall, forgotten, abandoned in Hamas, sitting as we speak in a Hamas dungeon, a terrorist group that is essentially ISIS. And where is this president? Nowhere to be found. Where is this vice president? Nowhere to be found. Shame on you, Mr. President, for allowing 5 Americans to languish in a Hamas dungeon as we speak. Shame. And they had a simple request: bring them home. Bring them home. Them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. And what did President Trump say in his remarks on Thursday night? He had a message for Hamas. You better release those Americans before I take office, or there'll be consequences. That is the strength we need, because, folks, we all saw that on June 27th. We saw in that debate a president that completely has lost his lunch. A President Biden that has trouble knowing what day of the week it is. Think about this. 25 minutes. 25 minutes is how long you have if you're the president and the commander-in-chief, if you're notified that there is a ballistic missile heading to the United States. 25 minutes you have to decide the fate of the free world. 25 minutes. Did anybody watch that debate on June 27th? I think this president can handle that. And so President Trump beat him so bad he withdrew from the race. But here's our problem. And I'm so glad we have so many of our friends from the media here. What has happened right now with this president's cognitive decline is one of the greatest political scandals in American history. We have a president that has not held a cabinet meeting for 9 months, since October of last year. We have now stories that suddenly appeared out of nowhere that this president is simply not up to the job. And Kamala Harris knew, and she lied to every person in this room and the entire country. So on one of the most consequential issues of the day, the president's basic ability to do the job that he was elected to do, she misled the American people. And then what was her main task as vice president? secure the border. When she actually would even go visit the border, what have we seen? Since the Biden administration took office, 8 million illegal crossings have come to this country. Folks, it is the largest human migration into the United States in our history. Of those that are actually apprehended at the border, do you know what happens? Now, I would never assume anybody here has ever had any interaction with our traffic system and ever had a speeding ticket. But for those of us that have, you get a piece of paper and it says, we'll see you in court 4 or 5 months from now. Well, 83% of those that are even apprehended at the border, they're given a piece of paper that says you'll have an asylum hearing 4 or 5 years from now, in 2028 or 2029. It is a definition of a catch and release program, what we have right now. And I know this shocks you, but over 90% of the people that are given that piece of paper, I know this really surprises you, they don't show up to court. But I tell you, as Attorney General, we say we're the people's protector. A part of my job is to get to wake up in the morning and sue the Biden administration. Business is booming. But here's what terrifies me the most. Just in the last 18 months, 241 individuals on the FBI terrorist watch list have been apprehended at the border. 241. You know how many were apprehended the last 6 months of the Trump administration? 6. How many have gotten through? Probably take that 241 number and double it. I have no idea where they are. Neither does the FBI or Homeland Security. Our next 9/11 is not going to be individuals hijacking an airplane, I'm convinced. It's going to be individuals that crossed over our porous southern border. And your first job as president is to keep our country safe. Biden-Harris administration has failed at keeping us safe. Well, listen, it is great to be the Attorney General and travel this state. I get asked sometimes as I travel around the Commonwealth, what kind of name is Miares anyway? And I like to say, well, it's Southern. It's Deep South. But the reality is that I'm standing in front of you today because this country gave my family, the Miares family, a second chance. The fact that my mother was able to get on an airplane in Havana, Cuba, homeless and penniless, and not knowing where her next meal was going to be, in the fall of 1965, and almost 50 years to the day that she left, she was able to go into a voting booth and get a ballot with my name on it, and was able to vote for me to represent her in the oldest democracy in the Western Hemisphere. That's the American miracle. That is what's on the ballot here today. It's 3 simple initials. What is on the ballot this fall is our very country. It's USA. 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 Thank you all. God bless you. Make sure you give a great Highlander welcome to the next Vice President of the United States, DD Vance.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Congressman Morgan Griffith.
God bless you all and welcome to Radford, Virginia. I'm glad to welcome you, and I'm glad to welcome J.D. Vance to Radford, Virginia. And I have to tell you, I've always had a special place in my heart for Radford. I grew up in a single-parent household. I didn't have any contact with my father, and my mother was raising us, and she decided as a single mom school teacher that she was going to get her master's degree. And so she came to Radford to get her master's degree, and she did that in some night classes and in summer classes at Radford University. And so when I was about 10, my sister and I were coming to Radford in the summers for 2 summers, and we spent a lot of time on campus, and if we were really good, we'd get a dime. Yeah, I'm that old. We'd get a dime to go to the Ben Franklin. And those were the big days. It was a big time. But I got to tell you, it is a special place. And I'm pleased to be here with all the folks who've already spoken, particularly our Attorney General, Jason Meyers. And this wasn't part of the speech I wrote at the Long John Silver's today, but I'm going to add it in anyway. The Republican Party is a party of opportunities. We heard from Senate candidate Hung Cao. His family escaped from communist Vietnam, and he has persevered, and he is a Republican. We heard from Jason Meyers. Jason's family escaped from communist Cuba, and he has persevered, and he is a Republican. And we are going to hear from J.D. Vance, who started out with humble beginnings and has persevered, and he is a Republican. And like me and like you, these people are Republicans because the Republican Party of the United States of America in this century is the party of opportunity for everyone. Not just those whose ancestors go back. And while the other party likes to claim that mantle, they have lost that mantle, and the Trump movement in this country has claimed that mantle of the underdog fighting to be better, which America is proud of, for the Republican Party. So I'm glad all those folks got to speak, and I'm glad you're going to hear from J.D. Vance, and now go back to my script. You and I know that not only is the Republican Party the party of opportunities, but that the extreme policies of the far left and of the Biden-Harris era have hurt America. Regulations, 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 and more regulations have pushed more and more of our jobs overseas. The Green New Deal is just one example. It pushes people to buy electric cars. They want everybody to buy an electric car, and electric cars have a place. I'm not against electric cars. But most of the components of the batteries that run those electric cars come from China. They come from China, not the U.S. Far left-wing Democrats like Kamala Harris are so determined to undermine American coal, oil, and natural gas that they would rather send jobs to China than to find other solutions. Solutions that American small businesses have. Solutions like MOVA Technologies in Pulaski County has, where they can actually clean up the air without eliminating our natural resource richness in natural gas, coal, and oil, but allow us to do it in a cleaner manner. No, let's not talk about that. Let's not work for that. Let's just make everybody drive electric cars powered by batteries from China. Boo, that's exactly right. These American companies can make our great natural wealth work for the United States, and they will, if allowed, and they will be allowed under Trump-Vance, but if allowed, they will create jobs for the United States, not China. When Donald Trump and J.D. Vance talk about jobs, they're talking about jobs for you. They're talking about jobs for Americans, and they're talking about jobs for Virginians. And when other countries subsidize their manufacturing in order to undercut American manufacturing, President Trump stood up and took a stand and called on the Chinese. He called the Chinese to task. He called other countries to task and said, we're not going to play in a free market world when you've got your thumbs on the scale of free market. We're not going to have it. he stood up. He started the reversal of what's been happening to us for the last several decades, where the Chinese subsidize their businesses and kill our jobs like the jobs that we used to have in this region, particularly Pulaski and Bassett, and sent those jobs to China. Trump won't have it. He didn't have it in his first term. He won't have it in his second term. And when Trump calls out the Chinese and others, that boosts American manufacturing and boosts American jobs. You know what else you can do to help the American families and help American jobs? You can cut taxes. Trump and the Republicans in Congress cut taxes in 2017. The economy grew, and we did it without large inflation. Thus, real wages grew instead of shrinking as it has under Biden-Harris. A second Trump administration will build on these efforts, make those cuts from 2017 permanent, and look for other ways to help you keep your money out of the hands of Washington, D.C. elitists. The extreme left hates rural American values. The extreme left hates conservative Republican policies. And they hate Donald Trump so much they were willing to perpetuate the lies about Joe Biden's being capable to run for president of the United States again. And what they showed by that is that all they care about is clinging to power. And when the curtain was pulled back and the great and powerful Joe Biden was shown that he was not competent to stand for re-election, many Democrats hoping to stay in power are turning to another less than competent candidate, Kamala Harris. How do we know that she is not competent? It's pretty easy. She was given the job of addressing the need to stem the tide of illegal immigrants crossing our southern border. What has she done? Beats me. She took months after being given that assignment before she ever went to the border. And as far as I know, and as far as I could find searching it on the Google, she's only been there once. Has the flood of illegal immigration into this country stopped? No. No, it has not. That was her job, given to her by Biden. It was kind of like he gave her a job to do on-the-job training. Well, if that's the best she can do in her on-the-job training test for the American people, in the words of Donald Trump, the American people are going to say, "You're fired." USA, 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 USA. The American people understand what's going on. They understand the wool was pulled over their eyes 4 years ago. They understand what they need to do. And it doesn't matter whether it's Harris or someone else the Democrats put up. The American people are going to say to the Democrats in the United States Senate, "You're fired." They're going to say to the Democrats in the United States House of Representatives, "You're fired." And they're going to say to whomever the Democrats put up to run for president, who knows at this point, it's only a few months away, but they don't have a set candidate yet, and we are all going to tell their candidate, "You're fired." And you know who the American people are going to hire? They're going to hire Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance. That's who they're going to hire. and Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance are going to make America great again. God bless you all. God bless Virginia. And may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Take care.
Biden as not just a quitter, which he is, but one of the worst presidents of the United States of America. But my friends, Kamala Harris is 1,000,000 times worse, and everybody knows it. She signed up for every single one of Joe Biden's failures, and she lied about his mental capacity to serve as president. Our country has been saddled for 3.5 years with a president who cannot do the job. And that is all because Kamala Harris and the rest of the Democrats lied about his ability to be our president. I think we ought to kick them all out come November and replace them with some people who care about this country. Now, remember this. Let's talk about some of those substantive failures. Kamala Harris is America's border czar. And how's our border doing, ladies and gentlemen? She hasn't talked to the chief of Border Patrol a single time in her entire tenure as border czar. Remember, on her very first day in office, she and Biden suspended deportations. They stopped construction of the border wall, and they re-implemented catch and release. The border crisis is a Kamala Harris crisis. Let's not let her ever forget. Let's never stop reminding her of that fact, and let's never stop reminding people the fact that when President Trump was president, we had a secure border and we put our citizens first. Now, it doesn't stop there. Harris is actually even more extreme than Biden, even though that's hard to believe. She wants to totally decriminalize illegal immigration. Well, Kamala, if you stop making it a crime to come into this country illegally, you're just going to invite more and more illegal aliens, and we know that communities like Radford and Middletown, we're the ones who suffer the consequences. Now, I know this area has been affected by a lot of stupid trade deals, a lot of deals that have shipped good American manufacturing jobs overseas. Well, Biden supported NAFTA back in 1994, but Kamala Harris voted to keep NAFTA again and again, even after it was obvious that it was a disaster for our people. I agree. She voted to eliminate the filibuster and pass the Green New scam, destroying energy jobs in Virginia and Pennsylvania and driving up the cost of goods. That's why we've got an affordability crisis in this country, my friends, because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they'd rather buy oil and gas from tin-pot dictators all over the world. I say they should buy it right here from American workers and from Americans who are... It's simple. Drill, baby, drill. It's not that complicated. We've got it right here. Our own workers want to get it out of the ground. Why don't we just let them? It'll make our country stronger. We all know that's the case. You know, it gets even worse. She supported abolishing ICE and wanted to defund the police. Even Joe Biden never went so far as to say he wanted to defund the police. Now, of course, he supported all these policies because him or somebody else, we don't know who's been in charge of this country the last 3.5 years, but Joe Biden supported it every step of the way, or at least the person who's actually running the show. She wants to ban fracking. She said that. You can go and look it up. She said that she wanted to ban fracking. That is going to destroy hundreds of thousands of energy jobs all across our country. It's going to empower the very worst and the very most dangerous regimes in the world. This is crazy. There is simply no way that you can sit here and say the policies of Joe Biden have worked, which is to say that we got to kick Kamala Harris out of the Oval Office. Don't give her a chance. Don't give her a chance to run away from the Biden record. The Biden record is the Kamala Harris record, and given what we know about Joe Biden, Kamala Harris probably did a lot more than Joe Biden does over the last 3.5 years. And while we're on the subject of Joe Biden, can anybody just admit that if Joe Biden is not fit to run for president, he ain't fit to serve as president of the United States either? And if Kamala Harris is too blind or too corrupt to admit to the American people that Joe Biden should have never been in there, she's not fit to serve either. We're going to get them both out of there. We're going to get President Donald J. Trump back in the White House. They both have to go. It's that simple. It really is. Now look, the thing is, I am a member of a community that has been affected by all these terrible policies. I grew up in a working class family. I grew up in a family where kids said, other people said, that kid's not going to turn out to be anything. I remember when I didn't have any hope for my future, I didn't have any hope for my community, I thought that chaos and instability was going to be the narrative of my life, that there was no future. And now I'm running. Now I'm running as Donald J. Trump's vice president. It turned out pretty well for me. Now, here's the crazy thing. Speaking of President Trump, and by the way, I'll tell you a story. On Monday morning, when President Trump, I guess it was Monday afternoon, early afternoon, President Trump called to offer me the job as his vice presidential running mate, and I didn't answer the phone. Now, it went straight to voicemail or something. I never heard it ring. I was staring at my phone hoping that he would call me, but of course I called him back and we had a nice conversation. You know, talk a lot about this. He put my son on the phone. He talked to my little 7-year-old boy. It was great. But the first thing he said actually when I called him back is he said, you know, JD, you just missed a very important phone call. And maybe I should offer it to somebody else. Now, he was messing with me, of course, because here I stand. And I'll tell you something else about President Trump, and I want to get to the fact that the media lies about him. And so many people don't realize the real President Trump. And here's the real President Trump. President Trump called me right before my RNC convention speech on Wednesday. It was a great time, and didn't my wife do such a good job? I was so proud of her for introducing me. But he called me and he said, JD, you're going to do a great job. It was just a nice pep talk. He said, don't worry about anything. You're going to do great. And then I said, sir, I agree with you. I think I am going to do a good job, but it's too late now. No takebacks. We've already gotten here. And the crazy thing is the media says that that guy is mean-spirited. They say that he is a threat to democracy. But first of all, we all saw the President Trump the media doesn't want you to see when he took an assassin's bullet, stood up a minute later, raised his fist in the air and said, fight, fight, fight. That's the President Trump I know, the guy who stood in defiance of an assassin's bullet and then just a few moments later called for national calm and unity. And they say that he's mean-spirited. That's not the Donald Trump I know. That's not the Donald Trump that any of us in this room know. They also say that he's a threat to democracy, but if I recall, Donald Trump won the Republican primary in 2016, won the election, and won another Republican primary just a few months ago. Democrats are the ones who want to throw out 14 million ballots and not elect Kamala Harris, but select Kamala Harris. With a bunch of billionaires and Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi making the decision instead of Democrat voters, it's disgraceful, and that's the threat to American democracy. That corruption and that broken process. Now, I'm obviously not a Democrat primary voter, and I imagine none of you are either. But if you are, welcome. Republican Party's happy to have you. But if you are a Democrat primary voter, they don't give a damn about you because they don't give a damn who you voted for. If you are a Democrat and you look at this corrupt process, I invite you to the Republican Party. We want to make America great again. We believe in elections. We believe in persuading voters, not lying to them for 3.5 years and then doing a switcheroo. It really doesn't matter who we run against, let's be honest, because every Democrat in leadership has supported these broken policies, and every last Democrat in leadership lied about Joe Biden's fitness for the office, about his mental competency, about whether he could basically function and do the job. And aside from that, every last Democrat contender wants open borders, more legal immigration. They want more trade giveaways, and they supported them from the very beginning. They want more endless wars and more criminals on the streets. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a crappy platform, whoever they put as the figurehead of the Democratic Party. Now, I want to say something about our likely opponent, Kamala Harris, because, you know, she said a couple of days ago that I showed no loyalty to the United States, that I have no loyalty to the United States. Well, you know, I don't know Kamala. I served in the United States Marine Corps, and I built a business. What the hell have you done other than collect a government check for the past 20 years? But I want to say, my friends, whether it's Kamala Harris or anybody else, it's the same Democrat machine. It's the same lies and corruption. It is the same broken promises, inflation crisis, border crisis. We don't need any of it. We need President Donald J. Trump back in the White House. Now, before we keep going, I want to take a moment to thank some of the outstanding Republican leaders that we have with us today. Republicans who I think are going to turn Virginia red in the coming decade, and we're so grateful to have them. You guys, of course, have a great governor in Glenn Youngkin. I understand he's working. He's working on behalf of the state, couldn't join us today, but we do have Attorney General Jason Miyares. Thank you so much for being here, Jason. Thanks for your great service. We've got Congressman Morgan Griffith. Where's Morgan at? There you are, Morgan. Thank you, man. Now we've got former Congressman Virgil Good and Bob Goodlad. Where there they are right here. Great. Thank you, guys. A guy I've gotten to know a little bit, an incredibly special veteran of our armed forces, a true patriot, and the next senator from the state of Virginia, Hung Cao. Thank you, Hung. Now, these are great candidates, and of course, we're joined by members of the General Assembly and state and local officials who are doing fantastic work on behalf of this Commonwealth. And like I said, they're going to help turn Virginia red. Now, for those of you who don't know me, let me just give you a little bit of background on where I come from and who I am. I'm a former Marine. Hoorah. Semper Fi. I graduated from The Ohio State University and Yale Law School. I started a business to create jobs in places like the one that I grew up in, places that have been left behind by Washington's leadership, but still have a lot of grit, a lot of determination, and a lot of opportunity if we could stop screwing up in Washington, D.C. Now, I was raised by my working class grandmother. I called her Mamaw. Do we have any other Mamaws in the room right now? We're in Appalachia, right? We got a lot of Mamaws. I just want to say to all of you, thank you for everything that you do, especially those who are raising the Mamaws and Paphos, the grandparents, the aunts and the uncles that are raising kids they didn't expect to raise. Because of this terrible opioid problem, trust me, it's appreciated. We love you and we're grateful to you. God bless you. Now, my mamaw raised me because my mom struggled with addiction, opioid addiction, for a big chunk of my early life. Now, mamaw was a tough old bird. She was a very devout Christian and a very thoughtful Christian, but she also loved the F word. She was a woman of contradiction. She could make a sailor blush, I'm not kidding you. She was my guardian angel in so many ways, and thanks to her, I had a chance to live the American dream. And if there's anything that President Trump's leadership is about, it is about ensuring that your kids have access to the American dream, that your kids have access to the incredible opportunity of this country. Now, for years, Washington insiders in both parties have sold out places like Middletown, Ohio, like Radford, Virginia. Both parties shipped millions of good manufacturing jobs overseas. They decided that we didn't need to make anything in America again. And now we're way too dependent on the communist Chinese to make the critical things that we need, from our weapons of war to the drugs that we put into the bodies of our children. You know, 95% of the ibuprofen in this country is manufactured in China. Guess where the majority of the antibiotics that we put into the bodies of our children are made? In China. That was a decision, ladies and gentlemen, by broken leadership that decided we didn't need to make anything in this country again. President Trump has a different vision. Let's make more things in America. Let's make our own country self-reliant, and let's do it with American workers making good wages. Isn't that simple? Now, the left calls President Trump and his supporters radicals. But what's radical about thinking that we should make more of our own products in Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania? There's nothing radical about that. It's common sense. And under President Trump's leadership, my friends, we're going to change some things around, and you're going to see more and more products stamped with that beautiful logo, made in the USA. It's time. Now, there's nothing radical about having a national security that is strong and smart. Who is sick of us sending America's sons and daughters off to foreign lands they have no business in? We got to focus on our own problems right here at home. And sometimes we do have to go to war. Our national security depends on it. But as President Trump showed when he took out ISIS, when we punch hard, and we punch to win. There's nothing radical about telling the drug cartels and the violent gangs, America is closed for business. We don't want you in our country. You got to go back. Obey the law and go back. We're going to secure that border under President Trump's leadership. We're going to stop the poison fentanyl that's coming into our country, and we're going to make America safe for Americans again, not the drug cartels and the criminals. Now, I mentioned that my own mom struggled with addiction for a big chunk of my life. And I stand here and I'm very proud to say, and I don't know if you saw this at the RNC convention, but she had a really lovely moment. But Mom has been clean and sober for almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years in January. Thank you. But I got to be honest with you. If the same poison that's coming across the border now was coming across the border 20 years ago, I don't know that I would have gotten a second chance with my mother. And there are a lot of families all across this country who are not getting second chances with their loved ones because the cartels are bringing poison across this country at a level we have never seen. We have got to shut that border down, make America safe again. It's common sense, it's not radical, and we're going to do it under President Donald Trump's leadership. Now, I don't know if any of you watched the RNC convention, did you? Went pretty well, right? But, you know, something happened. There was a speaker at the RNC convention. She spoke about her 15-year-old son. who had taken one pill under peer pressure, and it happened to be laced with fentanyl, and it took its life. Isn't that so sad? A handsome, gorgeous little boy, one mistake, and now his mother will mourn him for the rest of her life. That is the fruit of Joe Biden's open border, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of allowing this stuff into our country. I heard people say after this woman gave her speech, really disgraceful, disgusting people say, well, maybe he shouldn't have taken that pill to begin with. And I've got 3 little kids myself. I've got a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And we all know kids make mistakes. I want to grow up in a country, I want them to grow up in a country where a simple, childly mistake doesn't cost our kids their lives. I want to grow up, and I want my children to grow up in a country where they can work a good job, whether they went to college or didn't go to college. They can work in a manufacturing economy where we make things with our own hands and we do it with American workers. I want my children to grow up in a world where they go to school and they learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, not indoctrination from crazy progressives who want to talk about sex in the classroom instead of education. I want my kids to grow up in a country where the police are respected and they're empowered to keep our children safe and secure in their own neighborhoods. I want my children to grow up in a country where the leaders of this country put their citizens first. And I want my children to grow up in that country, and the only way it's going to happen if we make better decisions in Washington, D.C. We have got to send Donald J. Trump back to the White House to do all these things and so much more. My friends, I am so grateful to be here with you today. I'm grateful to stand on this stage. I'm grateful for the incredible opportunities that this country has afforded me, and I am grateful to be President Donald J. Trump's running mate. We've got an incredible opportunity here. We've got an opportunity to win races up and down the ballot. We have the opportunity to reestablish American energy dominance, restore American manufacturing, defeat this crazy inflation, and kick the drug cartels the hell out of our country. So to everybody listening, certainly to Radford, Virginia, but all across this Commonwealth and forgotten communities in Virginia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, I make this very simple promise to you. I will fight, President Trump will fight, we will fight every single day to restore an America that works for you, for your children, and for your grandchildren. We'll fight to bring down the cost of groceries and housing. Isn't it a shame that our young people can't afford to buy a home in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's economy? We'll fight to bring down the cost of energy. We'll fight to close the border. We'll fight to get this fentanyl out of our communities. We will do all of these things, but the only way to do it is to re-elect President Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Let's get to work, my friends. Let's do it together. I know that we can. Thank you all. God bless you.